You're listening to Lucid Cafe. I'm your host, Wendy Halley. Hello, here we are, just doing a little podcasting, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy as the world slips deeper into chaos. Everything's fine. It's fine. Oh my. Actually, it's my hope that the guests I have the privilege to speak with, at least a lot of them, offer some perspectives to help you navigate our changing world. Little story. Many years ago, I had a shamanic experience where I connected with the spirit of the earth. Man, what an amazing presence she has. The goal of that particular experience was to find out what she needed from us. Well, when I connected with her, she laughed when I asked her that question, and with her beautiful melodic voice, she said that she was going to be just fine. But she said that the best thing that we can do for her is to heal ourselves, because then her human children will interact with her, the natural world and all its inhabitants, ourselves, and each other with more love. Imagine that if a majority of us turned our focus inward and worked towards healing our wounds, reconnecting with our personal power, making peace with our shortcomings, finding harmony. And I'd love to live in that world. It's my hope that each of these episodes offer an opportunity or an invitation, some you may connect with and others not so much, to do just that. So who knows? Today's guest may be someone whose message and approach is exactly what you needed. Madi Murphy is the author of In the Cosmic Zone. She offers readers a fresh perspective on personal empowerment that blends ancient astrological wisdom with practical modern application. She reveals the steps on how to access the cosmic zone, which is basically our highest potential and something we all have access to, and manifest our unique mission with clarity and courage. And she does this by offering a fresh and fun guide to working with the zodiac. Madi is a cosmic leadership coach, a high vibe hype woman, and that is definitely true. You'll soon find that out. And the co-founder of Cosmic RX. She coaches influential cultural leaders who want to be seen for who they really are, not who the world wants them to be. So please enjoy my lively conversation with Madi Murphy. Madi, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Wendy. This is a treat.
Wow, a treat. And we haven't really started yet.
I love all the green you have going. The green is always like a Mercury color for me. So I'm just ready to yap with you.
Okay, so we'll green it up. Because Mercury is the communication planet, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I did it on purpose. Nope.
Just alignment, baby. That's just living in alignment. I love when it's like unintentionally intentional. That's just you living in alignment, right?
Right. Who knew? Until right now. I did. I didn't. No, I should say that again. All right. So speaking of astrology, you have a new book out. It is called In the Cosmic Zone, Embody the 12 Astro Archetypes to Unleash Your Genius and Activate Your Authentic Self. Okay, so this is quite a unique interpretation of astrology. And I was really taken aback by how probing and how helpful the questions are, the prompts are for each of the signs. But we're going to talk about that in a second. Yes, all of the things in which you're suggesting that each of the archetypes of the astrological signs, how they can kind of help us become more us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Oh my God, it's well said. I love that.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey, though. How did you get here to this place where you wrote this book? Because I suspect it wasn't, I mean, you weren't raised with paying attention to your astrological chart.
No, I wish I was. I would have saved myself a lot of energy and time and just all the stuff that we leak away when we're in that place of self-doubt. But the journey did lead me here, so I'm grateful for it. And there's sort of like many things in life, very complex little cocktail of being a human. I was raised in a household that was way more fundamental Christian. We had Bible study in the house. I was teaching it. So that was like definitely my mom was more into the traditional like Christian, the good girl energy and like us being a great community member and like, okay, hosting everyone and just studying that Bible. My dad, he's a double Gemini Leo. And so he grew up Catholic altar boy, same thing, like wanted us to be raised in the church. But he was sort of my that little like gateway drug that I needed because he really taught me with the double Gemini energy in that chapter of the book. Gemini energy to me is good at questioning things, right? But why? Says who? Like, let's turn things on its head. And so I would come back from church and be like, why are there no like women leaders? Because we're not Catholic. Like, this is just like, kind of like a made up like Bible study. Like, why are there no women? And he's like, well, I was like, let me tell you. And he started telling me about things. Or some days he'd be like, we don't need to go to church. We could just sit outside in nature. That is church. And, I would get invited to a bar mitzvah and I'd be like, what's that? And he'd be like, you got to read the Idiot's Guide to the Torah because I can't just have you like go into these things and not understanding these different walks of life. And he really taught me to just question, question, question. Nothing's good or bad. My church had some oopsie light Islamophobia around 9/11. And I remember saying, Dad, how do we know that we're right and they're wrong? And he's like, we don't. He's like, we're all just doing the best we can. He's like, our job is just to try to not be assholes. And I'm like, okay, okay. And so that gave me, I think, a good, like, I had that from going to church. I had why I liked it and why I liked worship songs and even the gathering is I had that innate sense in me that like we were connected to something bigger, right? Like there's some kind of larger force behind everything we're doing, some sort of consciousness. And I liked opportunities to connect with that. And to me, that was a lot through music, through connection with other people. But the dogma and everything that I was sort of questioning, my dad gave me a good out. And then I had, like most people have, the cool aunt, my cool auntie, my Aunt Gail. She was a very elegant but chic, I would say, like hippie. And she had moved out to California in like the 70s and studied with all these famous numerologists and astrologers. So she would read for me a little bit. I didn't really totally understand it. And again, like I kind of had that conflicting thing from my church of like, this is evil, but I also liked it. I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. So it was there, it was simmering. And I always had, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this relate to just those like ununderstandable, ineffable, but totally rock solid like gifts of other things, right? Like a knowing, an intuitive knowing, certain universal truths I just understood as a child, not knowing how, kind of old soul things. And then, going on the journey of being an adult, I kind of cast away things from the church, but also cast away things from my spiritual practice as I started to conform to being a New Yorker, checking the boxes, going into the career, the life, about to get married. And then right before I was about to get married, I just had my first real spiritual breakthrough about like, oh my God, I'm living such an inauthentic life. My body shut down. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I felt like a prisoner in my own life. Like I just felt so out of my power. And I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was like I had kind of slowly turned the volume down on my intuition and all that inner knowing and all that authentic expression to like fit in. And all of a sudden, overnight, it was like I just couldn't function or get out of bed, but I also couldn't sleep. So I called off my wedding about 2 weeks before I was going to get married and just was like, well, I am broke. I don't have any future plans. I don't have a job because I had to quit my job to move to be closer to my fiance. My parents got a divorce, sold my childhood home, all in like a 2-week span. That I was like,
Damn.
okay, so I got to figure out who I am. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of like, quote unquote, desperate enough to be like, I'm just going to return back to that stuff that I like to do as a child. And I started just, kind of devouring spiritual books from the library, going to as many free or donation based yoga classes as I could, sitting just with a journal and a pen in Washington Square Park. Cause also all those things were like free. And I was, again, really broke. So, long story long, I discovered that that was 2 weeks before my Saturn return. And when someone read that for
Ah,
me in my chart, and I got my first chart reading as an adult, that just validated everything that I had been experiencing. It gave me a sense of, oh, I don't have to downplay these parts of myself or diminish them. These are actually, this is who I am. This is my needs. These are my gifts. And it gave me such a map to start rebuilding my life on purpose with purpose. And then I kind of just never looked back. And it was just something that I was like, I need to learn more about this. And I want to teach everyone about it. But, you know, as we know, when we start talking about astrology, people's eyes start going cross-eyed, or like horoscopes in the newspaper.
right,
So then I was
right.
like, okay, now I got to teach people about this. But again, I'm a New Yorker, I'm a Virgo. I'm like, how do I make it accessible and practical? So
All
that's
right.
been the journey.
Yeah, it sounds like quite the dismemberment experience, which is not
Exactly.
pleasant. Yeah,
Not pleasant, but very, very shamanic, very like
very
dark night of
necessary.
the soul, very death, very, yeah, very just throwing everything in. But of course, as I'm sure people listening who might have experienced something on paper, everything awful, nothing there, burnt the whole life down, right? But then in my soul, I remember waking up that morning after calling off my wedding and being like, oh my God, I feel so free. And
Yes.
and I was like, okay, like this feels good. I want to keep following and chasing kind of like this feeling.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it just reminds me of, in fact, reading your book was reminding me of how much we can get caught up in the ideas of what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like, I'd have to say the common thread I took from your book was like permission to be yourself.
Mm,
Like, no
yeah.
matter what the, yeah, because you refer to them as keys,
Hmm.
the Astro Archetypes. Like, no matter what key you're working on, they're all
Hmm.
like the common denominator seems to be permission to be
Hmm.
yourself,
Yeah.
but from different angles.
Yeah. No, that's beautifully observed and beautifully said. And that's what I think. I think like so many of us are waiting for some external force to validate us or approve of something within us. So much energy and so much of our life force on hiding ourselves or folding ourselves in, making ourselves small. And it just feels like this is the time in history for all of us just to really like the road and the map that was laid out or the story that was sold to us. I think we're all realizing like, oh, that's not really working anymore. So why don't we go within, figure out who we are, have permission
Mm.
to be that. And I just think people who are in their full expression are way less likely to want to limit, judge, or oppress other people for living in their full expression. So it also creates a beautiful ripple effect out in the world.
Well said. I'm actually wondering if the kind of guidelines for life, especially in American culture, have served anybody, maybe a small percentage of people,
Right,
but
right.
for the most part, we're all kind of playing this game or on this hamster wheel, doing the things we're supposed to be doing, says who,
Exactly. Like
and
says who
here
but
we
what.
are. And then what's the percentage of people on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications? It's very high. I don't know what it is as of right now, but I know it's super high.
Yeah, really
So
high.
all
And
indicators that we're not in a
yeah,
good
the
place.
the medication, the numbing, whether it's through actual like pharmaceutical meds or just like addiction to the phone or shopping or all these different things that we just like looking for some sort of aliveness and life force because we've like kind of folded ourselves in
Mm,
and then shut down all of these like beautiful channels that we have to be more connected to the universe and each other. And yeah, I think that is like one of the true, pandemic of our times or something is that.
Yeah. It's all bullshit.
Yes, they're dipping into my little astro anarchist energies.
Yeah, I guess I have that in high quantities. All right. So, what led to you just kind of seeing astrology through this lens that ended up being your book?
I think my love affair with astrology is long, and there's so beautiful stories I have where it just lended me something that I really needed in a moment in time, some kind of magic or medicine. And I think about these certain clarifying moments. One of them was really, obviously, again, I am not like a math and science girly. I'm like the English, the storytelling, the art girl in school. So my first barrier of entry into wanting to go deeper with astrology, I was like, but the numbers and the degrees and the aspects and the angles, I'm like, what? I did study with a very traditional teacher who made me learn all of that. And then he said, you learn all of this like anything you do music. So then you can improv and you can do it more intuitively, but learn the fundamentals. I was like, sure. And he kept telling me, he's like, oh my God, the way your brain works. Cause I just kept going back to this more like kind of like a shamanic approach. I was like, oh, hey, but these are like, the planet is like our spirit guide. And he's like, not really a spiritual astrologer at all. So he's like, I see what you're saying. He's like, you know what? You should read this book, Shamanic Astrology by
Ah,
Daniel Giamaro. And I was like, okay, I go online. It's like not anywhere. It's like I got like one used copy from Abe Books. And oh my God, Wendy, reading this book, I was like, did I write this book in a past life? Because it was everything that I had been thinking and how I was viewing the archetypal energy of the planets and the zodiac signs, less as, I don't I can read more like traditionally and future casting and looking at things, but I'm like, oh, I like astrology as this like interpretation of this like planetary poetry and motion of like the celestial story of your soul. Like, why are you here? Who are the players? What's happening? What's the karma? What are we, expanding into? What are we releasing? Why are we here? Right. Like, of course, it's interesting to look at the, more fine-tuned things, but I'm always like, why are we here? Like, what are we doing, and how do we live in our fullest expression? And so going through these shamanic archetypes, like I had literally named my business at the time Cosmic Revolution, because we were doing like moon circles, and I was like, oh, I love this idea of like, there's a revolution coming. I was seeing it in the astrology, but what if we do it cosmically? And I just like love this concept, and everyone's like, what does that mean? Where did you come up with that? I'm like, I don't know, I just like it. And in this book, when I got it, the archetype energy for Aquarius, which we're entering, right now we're in Pluto and Aquarius, and this is kind of what I was seeing coming down the pipeline. The archetype that Daniel wrote about was the cosmic revolutionary. And I was like, oh my God, like it was so cool. So
it's
his
kind of perfect for
study,
what you're describing.
it felt like coming home, to learning this language. And then as I started working with clients and mentees and my own family and myself about like, okay, first and foremost, I always like to remind everyone they carry all 12 signs within them. No one is lacking a sign. No one has more zodiac signs in their chart than you do. If you are judging a sign, guess what? You have it in your chart. If you are jealous of a sign and you wish you had that, guess what? You have it in your chart. It's like a shamanic wheel. Like it's a wheel that we are just like a medicine wheel. We're going over and around every year. And every year it really teaches us something about ourselves in this kind of like spiral, golden spiral energy of life. So when I started working with myself, clients, and other people, I mean, like, okay, here's a section of your chart, and let's work on that in the solar season or as you have bigger transits coming through, and really looking to be like, what's that archetypal energy that you either are very aware of, because maybe you do have a lot of planets there. So psychologically, emotionally, you're primed, you're ready to go on that. Or maybe you don't have any planets in that part of your chart. So you actually maybe are a little bit asleep to that, but it is there. It's dormant. It wants to be woken up, but it's not, I like to say, astrology that's defining you, the kind that I'm into. Like, it's interesting to read, like, you are a Venus and Gemini. You like to do this. You like to do that. That's interesting. I've been into that in the past. But when it comes to this really transformative energy working with astrology, I like to think about astrology that's aligning you. Oh yeah, like the questions, the embodiment, the what does this mean to you? How does this give you permission in this part of your chart to really apply this and to stretch into it and to expand? And so, yeah, this sort of concept of the keys was just birth because I realized that, oh, every kind of universal block that we feel as humans when we're just getting ready to do something that is courageous and from the heart and asking our soul to grow and expand, we come up against these universal blocks, these fears, these self doubts, these like, ooh, I want to crawl back into my comfort zone moments. I noticed that each of the 12 zodiac signs and the archetypal energy them held a truth that could really unlock those blocks. Some of them, again, are going to be based on your chart more relevant during certain parts of your life or not. We're always changing, we're dynamic, but there's something in this book that I believe that people could come back to over and over again, or just open up to a random page like an oracle and be like, oh, okay, maybe that was something that was just waiting for my soul to be like, hey, brain, remember that you actually have this huge untapped resource in your chart, in your heart, and here are some prompts and here's some storytelling and here's some encouragement and practices to help you remember that, right, and come back into your wholeness. Because again, we carry all 12 signs. We're all whole. No one was born like missing a piece.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So that led you to share in a very succinct way through this book. And so the book is split into, well, it's got, of course, the introduction, kind of introducing the reader to what they're about to do. And then most of the book is split into each key for the 12 signs. It's 12, right? Yeah, that's right. It's in the, yeah, okay. Obviously, I'm not schooled in astrology really well, but, and then it's kind of like through storytelling and how you can look at that particular sign, like you're saying, through the archetype, the archetypal lens, and push yourself if you take yourself up on it to push yourself through the challenge you may be experiencing with that particular house, or not house, but through that particular sign. I don't know if I used the astrology language
No, you
correctly.
are.
So,
You're actually, you're doing a great job. You're doing a
okay.
great job.
All right. So I was wondering, that was going to be one of my questions, is how do you ideally want people to use this book? Do you want them to go? I mean, some people are probably, maybe depending on their sign, want to start at the beginning and go through to the end. And then other people are like, screw that. I'm going to do it
Yeah.
the way I want to do it. So, what was your intention?
My intention is very much choose your own adventure. And I really think about three ways to work with a book like this. I think the first way could just be like that. If just read it, you know, cover to cover, or even just picking up a random page. I always like the kind of little bibliomancy, like, what do I need to know today? Open it up. And that could be for people who have no astrological background or even like don't even want to learn. Some people are just like, I'm good, I'm done, my brain is saturated. I don't need to go into learning about astrology. You could read this book just like a guide, just like a self-development book to help you just, you know, think, muse, hopefully give you a little encouragement, a little permission in general as a human. And then way number two, which I think is good for people who are cosmically curious, and you know, or just again looking to embody more of what they've been learning about astrology from the more analytical point of view, which is every chapter of the book correlates to a zodiac sign and therefore a zodiac season. So this could be like a cosmic calendar where you focus on one chapter a month and the dates are in the book to really see that cosmic revolution that I was talking about before. I talk about it in the book. It's the revolution we're living in, but actually in astrology, your journey for the year is called a solar revolution because you know you're having the sun go through every single part of your chart, lighting it up, and it's almost like a new version of solar power. And what I love about it is, as someone who, yes, is always interested in growing and learning more about myself, I became so overwhelmed and so like turned off by the self-help, self-care industrial self-care complex that was like booming a few years ago and is still going
Mm.
strong now, where I was like, I don't know, am I organizing my drawers color coded, or am I doing my masks? Am I doing a digestive cleanse? Am I red lighting? Am I
I
biohacking? Am
actually,
I
that was the thing I was going to say before when we were talking about addictions, kind of like addictions to things.
Yes,
And even you can get addicted to kind of like spirituality and the wellness world.
totally,
Yeah, as it like this sort
totally.
of
Like never ending,
looking for that thing that,
looking for that thing, like that
yeah.
next spiritual high, or that navel gazing of like, what's the next problem I have to fix? And sometimes I'm like, girl, like you're good. Like you're good. Like you've done a lot of healing. Now you just got to enjoy life. Or like, you know what? Get outside yourself, be of service. Like it's not all about like, oh, what's the next thing I have to fix within myself? And I do love the zodiac season, gives you some prompts right now. It's Leo season. Again, I do tropical Western astrology. Are you a Leo?
I'm a Leo.
Oh my God. I should have known. I should have, I was like, she's giving me Leo, she's giving me Aquarius, but like it's all that fixed energy of this, that full radical self expression is so important. And so Leo season for all of us gives us permission to almost do like cosmic costuming and put on some Leo energy, even if we don't naturally carry that or resonate with it, and all be a little bit, in our most like courageous, confident, a little bit like audacious selves in the name of living in alignment with our heart's truth, right? Share your heart, share your art. It's Leo season, like take up space, shine brightly. Also have fun. In the Northern Hemisphere, we're all like, yeah, this is the time of year to like be in our light, right? Like it's summertime, the fruits of our labor. It's like enjoy them, be outside, eat good food, chase fireflies, skinny dip in the ocean. I'm like, it's such Leo season energy. And then that carries us. If you, and in my book, I talk about practices you could do, prompts, things to think about. What I noticed that happened, it wasn't just like, oh, that it activates in that Leo season. It's like a solar panel in your chart that now it's like charged up for the next year. And then that builds on to the next sign. So then next season, we'll have Virgo season where we'll be editing or decluttering or getting back into our rituals. And that might teach us something or inform something about us that, again, is helping us set up for the full next year. And then before you know it, after a year, you've gone through this really beautiful transformation from the inside out that feels sustainable, that feels grounded, and that feels like long lasting and intentional, right? Versus trying to do all this stuff overnight.
Right.
Right. Where does it get us?
Are you saying that there's a kind of a natural progression if you follow it month to month?
Absolutely. And back to the why I love the zodiac archetypes and everything in the zodiac season, the whole wheel of the zodiac is an evolutionary story of our human journey. And again, we go through it macro in our lifetime, like whoa, but also we go through it again every year as we, walk the medicine wheel, I believe. But it's like in the cosmos. If we start with Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, and Aries is I am. And this is why I always tell people get rid of those New Year's resolutions. Don't try and change your life in January. Are you crazy? Like that is so dusty, patriarchal, like capitalism, extractive capitalism. Like, oh, you think we're going to change our lives in the dead of winter? Like, come on. No. The spring equinox coincides with the first day of Aries season. And it's that like, oh, it's that rebirth, right? It's that like Aries season is like, let's do something fresh. Who am I? What am I care about? What lights my fire? It's cardinal energy, which means it's initiating some kind of fire. And Aries is sort of like the firstborn of the zodiac, all about the self, all about who I am. And then that goes into Taurus season. But then it's like, okay, I am, but now Taurus is like, I have. And Taurus is very much connected to the 3D realm, the five senses. So, like, oh, right, my body, nature, what do I need around me, food, what do I need to feel safe, and how do I sort of ground into all of that and ground and get back into my body, get back into, and I feel like again in the Northern Hemisphere, Taurus season is always bringing that springtime energy, and we're kind of like, oh right, like let's get in the garden, or we're like enjoying nature walks, or just feeling more into those, the pleasure of being a human, hopefully. And then that leads into Gemini, which is I connect, I communicate. Gemini season has us, being social, wanting to think about things differently. And so each sign builds off of the last sign, especially sort of where the last sign can start to get a little bit, where it needs a little help. So it's like, okay, just as Taurus season is tipping the scales into being maybe a little bit like only focused on what's in front of them. And that's where Taurus can get a little bit in that like stubborn stereotype. It's like, okay, then Gemini comes in to be like, let's shake it up. Let's question everything, but why? Who says? Let's bring in that. And then just as Gemini seasons, woo, often like we're questioning too much and we're like too in the airspace and our social calendar is a little too booked, we go into Cancer season, which has us going into the home, right? Into the hearth, into the who's our family? How do we feel at home in the world? What do we need? And so on and so forth. And I could obviously go through all of them, but if for time's sake, I don't have to. But there is a really beautiful wheel, and that's why again I love that assignment of working with each chapter in 1 month of the year, because you will start to understand also like, oh, that is what that zodiac sign means beyond the meme, beyond a horoscope. It's like, oh, that's what Libra energy means about collaborating and being open and living in more harmony with myself and the world. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, it does. It's really helpful. I was wondering, you've been working with clients for some time because you reference client stories in your book. And I was wondering if you've noticed any trends in your work with clients around, I don't know. I don't know what makes me want to ask that question, but maybe it's the pattern recognition part of my brain.
Oh, I know. I love those patterns. I can't stop seeing them. I think it's also why I love astrology so much, because it's just basically the recognition of patterns and then giving a little cosmic context to it.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if you've noticed any
Yeah,
trends in your work with clients that contributed to the book.
absolutely. And that will segue into the third and final way to work with the book. The pattern that I noticed is, yeah, there's so many, but one of them, and the overarching one, is maybe more of a belief than a pattern, but I have seen enough proof in the pudding to call it that,
Okay.
is that I think there's something interesting about astrology, especially. It's almost like just the turning to face the cosmos, so to speak, but really just the cosmic multiverse within you, just turning to face them, just having some kind of curiosity, just wanting to learn more about this. It's like the cosmos turn to face you, in that remembering, like, oh, right, hey, my dear child, the universe, God, source, spirit, your ancestors, your angels, whatever you want to identify that as, that higher power is like, great. We're so happy that you remembered that you're not doing this alone, and that you actually have this blueprint and this whole system and this language to help you feel more you in the world. And so to me, like, going into astrology with a certain open hearted, open mindedness, it isn't just about, again, learning and memorizing, oh, I have Saturn in this part of my chart. It's like, oh, remembering that I have, again, this whole multiverse within me, and I have a map to understanding how to bring it out in the world. And also, I'm opening myself up, because all of my clients have opened up to other realms of intuitive guidance, knowing, because again, you're turning back to something that's bigger than yourself. And then the other thing I will say on a more practical level of a pattern recognition is that everyone, I don't care, people have worked with me day one on their spiritual journeys and being like, I don't know what's going on. I'm having all these thoughts and I need help. Or I'm here to like ask for very like blunt career advice and not caring with the spiritual side. Or I've worked with people in their Saturn returns, or I've worked with people who are deep, way ever like further on their spiritual path than I work with people who are Fortune 50 CEOs, or people in Hollywood, people who are all different levels.
Okay.
Every single one of those people has had a moment where they need to do something that scares the ever loving shit out of them. Because all those people, the common denominator is that they were in some way heart centered, meaning they wanted to live more from the heart and they couldn't fake things and they couldn't just do things because people
Hmm.
told them to. and they had some kind of bigger sense of purpose, some sort of other kind of potential, some sort of other level of life that their soul wanted to expand into and experience. And whether that was clearing generational wounds, starting a business, falling in love, moving to the other side of the world, starting nonprofits, whatever it is. And every single one of them has had the moment of like, who am I to do this? And like, I can't do this. And I'm not made for this. I'm not built for this. And all of those things that creep in the head. And that's why the start of the book, the first key is the Aries key, that every single one of us need that pep talk once in a while of remembering, yeah, why not you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why not you? If someone's got to do it, like, why do we think that everyone else has permission to go after something or do something? And again, I say this of like, the vast spectrum of people I've worked with. And once they can overcome that, and it's not even about having it all figured out, it's never about having the plan all figured out because the plan will change many times over. It's just that self honoring, that self trust, that self permission, like you said, of just, okay, I can just take one step that's showing myself, the universe, all of creation, that I am ready to step into this role. And then like the rest follows, is the thing that makes all the difference. It's 99% of the work is just saying, why not me? Let's effing go. Right. So those are the two things that I would say that have been universal truths across every single person I've worked with.
All right, cool. That's very cool. Yeah, as you were saying all that, I was thinking about reflecting on the trend in my shamanic healing sessions lately. I've been a practitioner for, I don't know, like 25 years or so. And a lot of work has been done on their foundations of trust. Like that's when, like the first place that my helping spirits end up going is to their foundation of trust. And most of us have really fucked foundations of trust. Shocking, I know. But
Yeah.
but the spirit that's been coming forward to serve as new foundations, the person's new foundation of trust, because usually their old one is so wounded it has to be extracted. So they start from scratch, is the spirit of the night sky that comes to serve as someone's
Oh,
foundation of trust. Isn't that cool?
well. That's so cool. I love that.
And the idea of trusting in your inner guidance and looking up to the stars and knowing that all of the answers are right up there. That's what the night sky is reflecting to the person every time it shows up for them.
That's so beautiful. Wow. I love that weaving. I love like when we get the same sort of information or downloads across many different people, many different wisdom paths.
It's cool,
It's just
right? Yeah.
truth. It's like truth. You're like, that's truth. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
And then
it,
so,
it just popped into my head as you were talking. I'm like, oh yeah, night
yeah,
sky.
because when I look how you're like, I don't know why I was asking about patterns. And I'm like, I don't either. And I'm just going to say, there's so many things I could say, but that is one that, is really true. And so that's interesting. I'm going to really carry that with me because I do feel like that is sort of like one of the reasons I wrote this book, and what I feel like is kind of our collective medicine right now is rebuilding that whether it's the macro, the micro, and the inner world, the outer world, like we have to rebuild a lot of foundations of trust in order to like what I like to call maybe part of the joyful reimagining of where we're going from here versus just being
Right.
like everything's weird.
Yeah, and seems fucked. Yeah.
I was
And
gonna say, I hope your girls say they fucked big
yeah,
time.
you can say it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and that's Pisces medicine, right?
hmm Yeah. So that's the final, the 12th key, because I just wanted to offer, even in this book, the whole thing is a transmission. Like I had a little bit of a, segue here, but I had someone had approached me to write a book years ago, and it was a dream of mine. So I was so flattered and honored. They wanted me to write about something that the industry wanted that was
Mm,
hot, and I was just like, okay, cool, like Virgo, like people pleasing mode, and just trying to crank out this proposal, and it was so bad. It was so bad. It was so forced, and the whole process just, I didn't like it. And I just had to, finally kind of like take the ego hat off, come back into the heart space and just say like, I politely decline. This is just not like for me. I don't want to write a book. I want to write a book that is imbued with the energy that I want people to receive from it. I want to feel inspired in my
Yeah.
flow state. Yes, there'll be challenges. I had to walk myself through all of these keys in the process of writing and promoting this book, but I have chills. Like this book is just infused with magic. I put so many spells. I wove so I connecting to so many of our collective ancestors and the earth, and so much that's so beyond me. And that's why the 12th key, no matter what I do in my work, it always comes back to the 12th key. I'm a Pisces moon. I always believe that I'm a human. I am so not intelligent in terms of like, I don't have all the answers. I don't even know how I got here to writing a book. But what I do know is that I have some wisdom from my lived experience. I have some things that I think work, that I've seen people's lives. But why I know this book is going to help and change some people's lives is because like I trust, and I put in here the energy of like, let this just connect to something in someone's heart they needed to hear. Let this be a cosmic stepping stone to them connecting to their spirit guides, to the universe. Let this just be the next golden illuminated thread of yes that someone needs to pull on to go deeper into themselves. And all the work I do, I always bring in people's guide, whether it's like a business course I'm teaching or a one-on-one session. Because I always say, I'm like, I'm a channel here, but I'm a flawed human. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm next to everyone. Like, are you seeing this? This is kind of fucked up out here. But once you go into that place of I trust, I can like unclench, right? And just be
It's the
like,
it's the toughest one though. I think it's the toughest one. And I think that that's what you're talking about is it's like I think it's a common trajectory is when you want to follow your heart, you have a dream, and there's usually
mm,
an obstacle that comes your way, and yours came in the form of a publishing industry thing. And
yes.
I certainly have had my share of experiences in that realm where your ego will get an opportunity to maybe pursue your dream, but you have to sell yourself short. And then you're at a crossroads where you either sell or you're like, I'm going to do it the way I originally intended, and that feels right to me rather than what I think is what people want.
Exactly, because you always just feel again like you talked about the sort of a fragmenting. It's like all those moments when we just betray ourselves, or and it sounds like a dramatic word, but it is true when we're just being like, someone else wants this of me, or I think this is like what sounds good on paper, without going into that place of like, is this really my truth? And can I
Right. Yeah.
trust myself that like my truth will find me? Even if I have to say no 1,000, that's like, calling off the wedding, saying no to the original publishing deals. These were moments. And I'm not going to say I was there in like a white flowing dress, just like doves around me, like, I trust. No, I'm like sweating and me calling my
Am I
sisters and be like,
making
am
the
I
right
sure?
decision?
Am
Yeah.
I fucking my whole career up right now? Am I fucking my whole life up right now? And then just being like that other feeling, that like hum of your intuitive compass wanting to take you back onto your path. I'm like, I'm just gonna like feel like this is so loud in me right now and it's taking over my whole body, that I just have to trust it because it feels too uncomfortable to
Yeah. I don't feel like
like
I
be
have a
fake.
choice. Yeah.
I don't have a choice. And so there were so many times where I was getting harassed by my spirit guides, like sign after sign after sign. I was like, okay, fine. I will honor my truth. Okay, I get it.
Oh, they're so obnoxious, huh? Sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes they're so not subtle.
all right. So I got a little derailed.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what is the third
Okay,
way
so
in
the
which
third
people
and
can use
final
your
way.
book? Yeah.
So, of course, these are for people who or want to understand a little bit more about their actual chart and what it means. So, the first thing you can do is obviously just look up your sun sign, and probably what a lot of people are going to do. So, going in and reading for your sun sign. Your sun sign is going to be like your personal power key, because even though astrology is so much more than your sun sign is so important. It is literally how you are meant to carry like your life force, your light, shine your light and nourish as many people and projects and things on earth with as little amount of stress and strain for you as needed, like the sun, right? And how you're meant to be in your authentic effing brilliance is very much through your sun sign. So going there, but then you can go in and really go through different parts of your chart. I have a little appendix. It's on like page 202, 203, 204. I didn't want to scare people away with like, this was not my kind of medicine of going into the nitty gritty of a chart, but I did
Yeah.
put a little thing back there if you just want a little like, okay, so my Venus sign, what is needed for me to feel loved and appreciated, my values, my relationship to money, my preferred aesthetics. This key is going to help me understand what I value the most and how I express my love language and heart's truths. You could look up your Venus sign on astro.com. We're actually coming up with a little chart, calculator for our website. You just pop in your birth info and be like, okay, my Venus is in Sagittarius. So it's like, great, go to the ninth key and think about all of that through the lens of, like I just said, your relationships, your love, your values. Oh, right. This whole chapter is about travel and experience and broadening your horizons and feeling free. And it's like, oh, okay, that's something that I really need in that area of my life. And now that I know that, and it's kind of a non negotiable, what does that open up within me, right? How does that align me? And so, likewise, you can do that for every part of your chart. Similarly, every part of your chart has an opposite sign because we can go too much. We can be too much of a sign. There's no such thing as a bad sign, but there is unconscious expression of it, right? And every sign has a
I don't
high
think
and
you
a
can
low
be too
octave.
much Leo. Come on.
You're like every sign but Leo.
I'm just teasing.
The most Leo, if astrology isn't a real thing, right? But then so Leo, the
I
balance
just
is
wanted to say a
Aquarius.
very Leo thing.
I love the very Leo thing. It's so perfect and it's so on brand. And I'm just like, my Virgo's like, I appreciate that. I appreciate that attention to detail. So yeah, you can go in and read for like the Aquarius and it says right in at the
To
opposite key.
balance yourself out, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, it just helps us figure out like, oh, right. Again, there's nothing bad about any sign ever, but we can be in a place where we're like, oh, we're just putting a little too much gas there. We need to kind of pull back and give it a little juice, a little break, a little downshifting or whatever. And when we do that, we can actually see the gifts of the original sign so much more clearly.
Okay. Great. So you mentioned your website, and you have like a whole community. Yeah?
Yeah, we have a whole cool community, like a couple thousand people all across the world, the like-minded universe of just cosmic baddies and modern mystics and witchy weirdos who just want to have a place to like hang and talk about this and hold space for each other and work with the moon. Like I said, work with the moon, not for the man, and just like dream weave together. And it's pretty cool. That's all available, information on the website
Which is?
cosmicrx.com, I think. Let me double check.
You're
Yeah, I'm on
good.
it. It's cosmicrx. Okay, it's cosmicrx.com. Yeah, and you could see that on there. We also have a ton of, we're really interested in, a few years ago, I got really, again, turned off by like some things in the wellness sphere. A lot of, I understand people have to make money and that's not it, but just the over commodification of certain things, especially things that are just ancient principles and truths. So we are on a mission to, democratize magic, if you will. And so we have a lot of things that are for free. We have a blog, we have a free birth chart decoder. I do a weekly podcast. We're always just doing like also scholarships for our program. So come to the website and just poke around. There's probably something there for you wherever you're at on your journey.
Great. And do you still work with people individually?
I took a little pause because of the book, and then I, by accident, had two babies in a year, and that made me very busy while writing a book. Um,
Accidentally had
was
two babies
accident,
in 1 year, but
accident,
not at the same time, I'm guessing.
not at the same time.
All right.
No, it was when it rains, it pours, amazing blessing, and
It
I
pours
accidentally
babies. Yeah.
pours babies. And I think I vision boarded too hard because I wanted to call in a baby for a long time and I was very blessed to. But then I realized that I put in a picture of a toddler leaning over a newborn baby. And I think something in my subconscious was just like, let's do that. And I ended up having Irish twins. So, yeah, two boys, 12 and a half months apart. So I took a little pause on the one on one work, but I will be starting that up again in 2026 in January. So,
Okay, which is might be around when this comes out anyway.
oh,
So,
fantastic.
yeah,
Perfect. And it's going to be another wild year. So come on
that's
in.
what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. So, wherever you need support, get it. All right. So, there was one other little rabbit hole I wanted to go down real quick before I let you go back to
Let's do it.
your two little guys. I noticed you referenced studying shamanism, and so I was just curious about what pulled you in that
Yeah.
direction, and how did you like what tradition did you end up studying? And
Okay, I'm so happy you brought this up because this is just one of those moments of like, again, as a child, I always suspected and felt that magic was real. And just the more I've turned to this path, the more I'm just like so confirmed. I think going to shaman school was such an anchoring and a validation of so many things that I just felt intuitively. But the journey to getting there, I maybe like some people they find you. I think I knew about shamanism. I was intrigued by it, but I also had no idea what it meant or what it was. And
yep, I
I
hear that.
didn't,
Yeah,
right? You're kind of like, and it's like, what? But oh, but tell me more. But
yeah.
what? And for one of my birthdays, I went to like one of those float tank type of things and just wanted to like tune in. I was feeling kind of unclear a lot in my life. And I nothing really came out of it until the very end. Like I was about to get out and I went into this deep, like an instant sleep, but it was very vivid. And I saw my paternal grandfather, who I never met, who was Irish Canadian, a fisherman from Nova Scotia, sorry, Newfoundland. And I was just like, Grandpa John? Like he was in a rocking chair and he just said the word shaman to me. And I was like, okay, but like, my grandpa John was not vibing with the shamanic energy that I knew of at least.
Right.
So I was like, what does this mean? Fast forward, I had a coffee shop in Brooklyn and we sold, some drinks that I was trying to do like plant-based, fun, whimsical, but healing beverages. And a woman came in and she's like, what is this place? Who owns this place? And she's like, I saw a unicorn latte, a mermaid, a purple amethyst latte. What's happening here? And she's like, I run a shaman school and you need to go. And I was like, okay, shaman, but still being in my own way, in my own head. I just said, nope, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I'm running two businesses. I'm broke. I can't do this. And she just kept coming into my shop every once in a while when she was in town. She's from California. And then, through a chance, long journey I went through that I talk about in the book. I
Yeah,
came into a
it's
teeny bit
intense.
of intense journey. I came into a teeny bit of a little bit of money. It was literally to the dollar, the exact amount that I needed for shaman
Okay.
school.
Thanks,
So,
Starbucks. Right.
oh yeah, thanks Starbucks. So I
It
was
was a
like, you
lawsuit
know,
she's
I,
referencing. Yeah.
yeah, and we settled, and it was that was a whole karmic journey. But I was like, okay, I'm paying attention, and then so I went, and it was called Pampa Masayak Shaman School, and it started by Stephen Feely, who studied under Alberto Viodo from the
Okay. Yeah, the Four Winds or whatever.
Four
That guy.
Winds,
Yeah.
12 Winds, Four Winds, and I didn't really
Lots of
resonate with some
wins.
of the lots of winds. I didn't really resonate with the Four Winds when I had studied it and looked at it. Just I don't know, just whatever. I don't resonate with something. But when she told me about the school, this woman, Colleen McCann, who was teaching at the time there, she was like me, Virgo, New Yorker, LA, New Yorker stylist, turned like shaman medium. I was like, okay, she's intriguing to me. And then my first phone call with Steven, I was like, I have never been in a more like kind, sacred, masculine, like pure presence in my life. So
All
I
right. Brother
went.
did his work. Okay.
Brother is doing the work he does, and that whole journey for me is from the Kiero tradition, which is the same thing as Four Winds, but then they bring in some like Celtic shamanism, and they just wove in some different lineages. I would come home, and my now husband, boyfriend at the time, would be like, "What did you do all?" It was like in weekends we would go like 4 days at a time. He'd be like, "What did you do?" And I'd be like, I couldn't even articulate
There
it.
are no
I'd be like,
words. Yeah.
there are no words. I'm like, it's just like Hogwarts meets like, but he'd say like, you look different every time I come back. I'm like, yeah, like the energetics, and I owe my whole life without sound dramatic. Like my, if anyone is here is interested in, and they're feeling that call and they don't know why, it just grounded me into being able to, I think, have the everything, the tools, the integrity, the capacity, the container to hold like myself better, but also all of this spiritual energy that I'd always been intrigued by with, but I would always just been like reading my own books, throwing stuff at a wall, seeing, and that's beautiful to be self-taught and self-led. But there's something about like joining a lineage and sitting, you know, at the feet of a really beautiful teacher and elder and like in a community that really
That's very
changed like
powerful. Yeah.
right? As you
Yeah.
know. So it is that like anything coming up from that or anything that you want like in your journey? I don't know.
I started having spontaneous visionary experiences about 2 years out of grad school, and I'm studying clinical psych. And so I'm a mental health clinician who's delusional. So I didn't tell anybody
It's
about
my
those
favorite part.
experiences.
I love that.
Well, it's true. I mean, by those standards, I was seeing
Yeah.
things that weren't there, and I was awake. So I put it to the side, and I ended up. I had dreams of two of the most important men in my life. I met them in my dreaming before I met them in real life. One was my favorite
Ooh.
husband, and the other one was Hank Wesselman, who was the guy I ended up studying shamanism with. He had his own series of spontaneous visionary experiences, and they kind of introduced him to the
Ah.
Hawaiian tradition. And he didn't, and it was validated by a Hawaiian elder. Makua was his name, and
Mm.
he took him under his wing and shared the
Mm.
lineage, the Hawaiian Polynesian tradition with him, and gave all of us permission to share it because Makua
Mm.
wanted that he wanted this information, this old wisdom tradition to be shared with the world. And so, yeah, when I met Hank and his wife Jill later, I ended up, everything made sense. Everything in my life
Mm.
made sense. And it was
Oh,
like a feeling of being at home
yeah.
in the dream time. And then also, as I'm sure you found, is that your view of reality shifts completely.
Yeah.
So reality is not just this
Yeah.
materialist cause and effect
Mm-hmm.
physical existence. It's much more than
Mm-hmm.
that. And therefore, there's a lot more to work with. And then
Mm.
you get to know yourself in this way. And from this more indigenous perspective, it's a much friendlier way to work with things rather than coming from this place of fear of your symptoms. For
Yes.
example, you make friends with your
Yes.
symptoms instead of trying to get rid of them
Yeah.
and find out what stories they have to tell you and that kind of thing. So I just think it's in our DNA. I mean, every culture pretty much comes from a shamanic tradition if you go back far enough. So it
Yes.
also resonates, I
Yes.
think, in this very deep way for all of us. And I think that's why there's a resurgence in interest in shamanism. Although there's a lot of sketchy stuff. I've heard way too many bad stories.
Yeah, right. It's like, but it's also like it's that discernment thing too with people of
Yeah, yeah.
like you just feel it. Like if you felt talking to him, it's like we don't expect our teachers to be perfect.
He was definitely not
Right.
perfect. No.
But it's also like feel that resonance and don't give away your power too much to them. And also, yeah, I was going to shaman school. It's like, oh my God. So it was like a private but beautiful journey for me. And I would tell people about it and they'd be like, okay. And then of course I think like, you know, it was like January 6th and like the QAnon shaman. I was like, can we
Yeah, I
I'm like,
know. I
yes,
know.
those are some people out there. And I was like, oh yeah, like some people out here are really like it's like everything in life, any career. There's good doctors, good lawyers, bad lawyers. And
Yeah,
it's like I think that discernment is so important for people because
it's
like
key.
you just feel it. Like, you just know you're like something is off here. And I'm so grateful you found like someone who was really holding this work in the high integrity, way
Yeah,
that
yeah. No,
led
I
you
mean
here.
he definitely had his faults, but he also, I mean, I watched him evolve over the years that I worked with him. It was
Mm,
really cool. He softened
that's cool.
because, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love
Anyway,
that.
yeah, he was quite a character. He was a scientist, so he had that brain. He was a
Yeah.
paleoanthropologist.
Oh, I see. I'm a sucker for the scientific brain that like gets into spirituality and just reminds us that it's
Yeah.
all the same, just two different sides. And I think it offers something really interesting. My astrology teacher, one of them was a theologian, Baptist minister, went to school, and was writing a paper to try and disprove astrology.
Nice. Okay.
And then he started being like, wait, there,
Oh, really?
yeah, he's like, oh, there's something really, again,
Okay.
pattern
Well, how
recognition in this.
open-minded of, because he could have really doubled down, right?
I know. I thought that was very, very demure of him, very open-minded of him, very, very life-changing of him. And now he's like a super prominent astrologer who does a lot of work and
That's too
getting
funny.
unlikely people, into astrology. But I love when people come from that different scientific or more analytical background and can also hold space for reminding us that like there's so much, there's so many mysteries here, right, of being a human and in the unknown. But if we can just open our heart to them a little bit more, they have so much to hold. And I love what you said about the kinder, more gentler way of relating to ourselves or whatever we're going through. However you said that, I'm going to go back and listen to it. 'Cause I'm like, that was really quite beautiful. I need to go digest that a few more times.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah. Well, also, I'd like to just put in a plug for, even if you don't make a wise decision in who you study with, or some path you go down, that's brilliant too,
I like
because
it.
it ends up becoming usually this huge evolutionary experience.
Yes.
So, like when you get really far away from yourself, or really far away from what's important, like like you were saying,
Hmm.
give your power over to any kind of teacher, no
Hmm.
matter what tradition or whatever, your boss, give your power to
Hmm.
anybody, because you think you're going to get something in return, that kind of cult mentality or whatever,
Mm.
some kind of promise of
Mm.
wealth and riches or wisdom, or some kind of enlightenment or some bullshit like that, then sometimes we just need to do that. And that's
So true.
okay. And that's all right. But
It's so
if you can
true.
prevent that from happening, all the better.
It's like so the story of being a human. I feel like I gotta tell stories and I'm like, I really kind of fucked up there, wasted some time or got really off path. But I'm like, but it was all part of my journey.
I have
But I tell my
stories.
student,
Hmm.
but I'm like, okay, now you as my clients or mentees or my friends or family, if you want to learn a little from my mistakes and you can find your own mistakes, but just like you could figure certain things out a little faster than I did, that would also be cool.
But
If you want.
not always how it works, unfortunately.
Exactly,
Yeah. I mean,
exactly,
it's
exactly.
I'm, especially as a parent, you're probably going to find that you would
Oh
like
my
to
God.
prevent your child from running into a wall that's right in front of them, but they were like, then all the things you say to prevent them from doing that, they're like, nope, and smack.
Nope. We
And then
have
you
to just
watch them slide down
go.
the wall. Yeah.
We have to just go experience it ourselves. I feel like being a parent to a
Yeah.
toddler is making me understand my spiritual guides so much more, where they're just trying to be like, we're just trying to help you, but okay, yeah, you gotta just go, okay, you gotta just go bonk your head on that. Let her bonk her head so she realizes that's what happens when she does that, or
Yeah.
like around control. My toddler's always trying to like get something, like his hand was stuck in a jar, like like an Aesop fable, like couldn't get a pickle out of the jar. And I was like, let me just, if you just unclench and release a little control, I could help you. And I'm like, oh, I got it. I see what you've been saying. Thank you for that message.
Yep. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah,
It sounds very human. At all. It's we're just doing the best we can. Jesus
we
Christ.
really are.
All right, Maddie. Well, I've taken up too much of your
Yeah.
time, so I really enjoyed the conversation. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, this was a delight. Thank you so much for having me on, Wendy.
I'd say that was a pretty fun, unfiltered conversation, wouldn't you say? If you'd like to hang out with Maddie in the Cosmic Zone, get a copy of her new book that goes by the same name, or just learn more about the online community she's created, please visit cosmicrx.com. Well, thank you so very much for joining me today. In our next episode, we'll be taking a compassionate look at healing our grief. Until next time.